Hi everyone. Tonight we're having Mexican pizzas for dinner. Super easy to make. I actually use a couple canned items in here, so as long as you have them in your pantry, if it's been a long day, you've done a lot of work, super easy to put together. I know a lot of us have a little extra time right now, but I was back in the field today and I'm still putting it together because it's easy. Once you have these Mexican pizzas, you'll never get one at Taco Bell again, promise. So I'm gonna change your view so you can see a little bit what's going on. There we go. So this is about 1.5 pounds of ground beef. I'm just cooking it up really well. It's a little bit of garlic salt and garlic powder on there. We like garlic in our family. And after that's done cooking, I'm gonna put a seasoning packet on it. But while that's cooking, I'm gonna start my rice. It isn't anything crazy. It's just a real simple rice that Elena likes. It's 2 cups of long grain rice. There's a little bit of olive oil in my saucepan already. I'm gonna let that heat up and cook up a little bit. And then once that browns and just gets a little bit deeper in color, I'm going to add chicken broth and a little box of tomato sauce. I like these little boxes that I use here, and it's just over 7 ounces. That'll go in there as well. So I'm gonna let that brown, let the rice get some good color while this finishes cooking all the way through. And I'm gonna show you what our Mexican pizzas are made of. So I fried these already. These are flour tortillas. It's 2 per Mexican pizza. I just fry them up in a little bit of a little bit of vegetable oil so they're nice and crispy. And right now they're draining on some paper towels. So however many you make, you're gonna need 2 tortillas per Mexican pizza. So if it's just 2 of you, you need 4 and so forth. I try to do those a little bit early so they drain really well because you don't want a soppy Mexican pizza. You want it to be nice and crisp when you're biting into it. So I'm gonna let these cook up and I'll be right back. Okay. So the rice has got a really good color to it. So I've added in my little box of tomato sauce and 2 cups of chicken broth. I'm gonna let it come to a really quick boil and then I'm gonna turn it down low and put a top on it. I'm gonna make sure that my meat is still cooking really good, and it is. It's getting nice and brown. I wanna make sure it's in as small as pieces as possible because when you're putting it on and you're assembling your Mexican pizzas, if the pieces are too big, it's not gonna lay flat and it's gonna look dumpy and stuff is gonna fall off the top. So I like the pieces to be nice and thin and crumbly. So I'm gonna let that boil and I'm gonna turn it down low and put a top on it that cooks in about 20 minutes. And I'm gonna let this meat brown up a little bit more and I'll be right back. Okay, so our meat's cooked up really well. It's pretty much done. I've used this Pampered Chef tool. It's called a mix and chop, I think. I'm not really sure. Maybe if Susan's watching, she can post the name of the tool in the comments. But I use this to really get a nice, crumbly, small shape to the ground beef. Because you're gonna be building these Mexican pizzas, you want them to be nice and small little chunks of meat. You don't want a big old chunk of meat. It's gonna mess up how you put the pizzas together. So you can see that these are nice and small little pieces, which is good. I also use it when I'm draining out the grease. When I have my meat in a strainer, I'll really push down on it with that mix and chop and turn. It gets a lot of the extra grease out. So it's a really good tool if you guys are looking for something like that. So your next step is gonna be to add a seasoning packet. So now this part is entirely up to you. My family likes the fajita seasoning packets more than taco. But you can use taco, fajita, either one, whichever one your family likes more. The one thing I will tell you is normally those fajita packets ask you to add water, and I always half the water when I'm making any type of Mexican pizza because otherwise your tortilla shell, those little crispy shells we fried up already, will start to get soggy. So if it asks for half a cup of water, half it, and so forth. So right now we're going to add a packet of seasoning into our meat and really let it mix in. Our rice is still cooking pretty well there. It's already got our tomato sauce, our garlic salt, and our chicken broth in there, so it's simmering right now. And let me get the seasoning packet in. Like I said, I'm gonna use a fajita seasoning packet and add just half of the water and get it stirred up, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've added in my seasoning packet. I went with the fajita. To be honest with you, I buy whatever's on sale. This just happened to be a Lawry's fajita, but you can use whatever your family likes. To me, there's no difference in the brand. We just prefer all of the seasonings that come in a fajita more than a taco seasoning, which is why I use fajita on the ground beef part of this rather than the taco. And I halved the amount of water it asks for. And you can see, normally if you have all the water in there, it would be kind of drippy, and it's not. It's a nice firm meat, but it still has all that flavoring. So I'm gonna let those flavors kind of sink in a little bit. While that's going on, I'm gonna heat up my beans. I'm just gonna use a canned bean today, but I do have a really good recipe for a homemade refried bean that maybe I'll do next. But I just have a Rosarita. I like the no fat because I add in olive oil so I can get the consistency that I like. And this is a green chili and lime. Use whatever flavor your family likes. There's like a jalapeno, I think there's a vegetable, there's a black bean, there's the green chili and lime, there's just a plain one. So I'm going to actually heat this up even though it's already cooked because I feel like it gets a little bit smoother and it's easier to spread when you're putting the pizza together than if it's cold. So even though it doesn't really need to be cooked and it really doesn't need to be heated up, because we're gonna stick all these in the oven at the end, I feel like it works a little better when I'm getting everything kind of assembled. So I'm gonna get this started in my other pan and I will be right back. Okay, so now we're gonna start assembling. I preheated the oven to about 500 degrees and you're not really cooking this because everything's cooked already. You just want to get everything super hot and get the cheese melted. So you're going to take a baking pan. I've sprayed mine with Pam olive oil just to make cleanup easy. It doesn't affect anything else going on. You're gonna put the beans on your first tortilla, just like here. Let me change your view around a little bit, like that. You're gonna spread it around so you try to get some in each bite. Then you're gonna take your ground beef and put that right on top. Oops, I'm already making a mess. And you can do as little or as much as you want. You know, they're definitely a lot harder than the ones you get at like Taco Bell, but you can put however much you want of both in there. Right on top of this, you're gonna put one more tortilla. I'll use this side, I think. Squish it down just a little bit so I don't go all the way to the edges, so when I squish, it can go to the edges. And then you're gonna take enchilada sauce. I use Los Palmas, the hotter one, just because we like it that way. And you're going to just go in a circle all the way around. And that's gonna kind of be what your tomato sauce is on the top. And it's okay to be messy. This doesn't need to be cooked, doesn't need to have anything added to it. I use it straight out of the can. Just make sure you're using the enchilada sauce and not the red chili sauce because it's completely different. It has a different texture and everything. It looks like my rice is pretty much done, so I'm going to turn that off. And then I'm going to add cheese to the top here. Really give it a good coating of cheese. I'm going to top it with some diced tomatoes. Maybe a little bit more diced tomatoes. Some green onions. And on Terry's, because he likes a little bit of kick, I am going to add just a little bit of diced jalapenos because he likes that quite a bit. We're gonna take this whole little pizza, and you can do more than one on a tray, but or on a pan, but I want it to look nice. So I'm just gonna do this one. You're gonna take this whole and put it in the oven, and you're just gonna cook it till you see everything kind of melting and getting piping hot, and then you're gonna pull it out, and then we'll put any toppings on it that your family might want. So give me just a minute. I'll be right back. I'm gonna throw these in the oven. So we have homemade Mexican pizzas, and they're not the cutest thing to look at, but they taste really, really good. Okay guys, we are done. We have Mexican pizza, a little bit of Mexican rice to go with that. I don't know if you can see it in the picture. There you go. Super easy to do. Basically what we did is we fried up 2 flour tortillas and a little bit of oil and got them nice and crispy and drained them off to the side. We cooked up just over 1.5 pounds of ground beef, added just a little bit of onion, garlic salt, garlic powder, let that cook down, drained it, and then added a seasoning packet. You can use fajita or taco seasoning, whichever you like. Just make sure you half that water so your nice crispy tortilla shell or Mexican pizza crust, I don't know what you call it, doesn't get soggy because you just fried those babies up, you want them crisp. And what you're going to do to assemble them is put 1 tortilla down, put a layer of refried beans. It's always best if you add a little bit of olive oil and heat them up because they get a little smoother, it's easier to spread. Add your ground beef, use as much or as little as you like. Put another fried flour tortilla on top. You're gonna top with the that flour tortilla with enchilada sauce, and make sure you're using enchilada sauce and not red chili sauce because the consistency is different. The red chili sauce is not going to taste quite right. So you're going to put the enchilada sauce on top and then add cheese, tomatoes, and green onions. Throw it in the oven for 4 to 5 minutes on 500 degrees. You just want everything to get piping hot, that cheese to melt. Pull it out, and then you can put whatever toppings you like. Sour cream, guacamole, whatever your family likes. Serve it with your Mexican rice if you made the rice as well. And you kind of got dinner done. So I hope you guys like it. We really like it here. We love Mexican pizzas from Taco Bell, and this kind of takes the place of that. Our dogs are getting ready to want dinner, so they're going to start making some noise. But I hope everyone's doing well. I hope everyone is safe. If you make it, let me know if you like it. Let me know if you change anything. Hey, shh. Sorry. We're fostering a new dog named Charlie, and Charlie doesn't have etiquette yet. So anyway, I hope everyone's doing great. I hope everyone has a great night, and I hope you like this dish. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll put the recipe in the comments. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a great night.